Hokies softball and baseball have had some unforgettable moments early in the season, while Tech basketball looks to be on the right side of the bubble with some tough matchups this weekend.
Yeah, let's talk about that and more on this edition of the 3304 Sports Tip-Off Show.
Hello and welcome from the Center for the Arts studio in Blacksburg, Virginia. I'm Riley Klaus, joined by Haden Tolbert. And Haden, there's so much action going on in Blacksburg, but let's start with the men's basketball team, who's coming off a big win over Wake Forest this last weekend.
Yeah, I mean, the men's team finally got a good win on their belt. You know, they had Wake Forest at home. Blew them out a little bit. They had a good, system when they make it to the metrics, and good game from Avdallah. So you're going to need that for the rest of the year.
And Neo was back. Toby Lawal on senior day had a nice 17 as well. But now you look ahead, Hayden, and they take on a great team in North Carolina. But they might be getting some help back in Tyler Johnson potentially this weekend.
Yeah, it was announced the past couple of days that Tyler Johnson is going to be back. Long overdue for the Mike Young and the Hokies, so it's going to be huge for him to come back. He has a huge defensive presence.
And for Virginia Tech men's basketball, they're trying to be on the right side of the bubble. They'll have North Carolina and then Boston College. But women's basketball is also making some moves and trying to make the tournament too.
Yeah, they had the tough loss against North Carolina in overtime at home, which was rough, but they were able to pick that up and beat Georgia Tech at home for senior night, and they'll have a good Commonwealth matchup against UVA.
Yeah, that's going to be a big one this weekend as they try to boost their resume moving on.
Yeah, and more on the women's team and how they can make it into the tournament. Here's our very own Michael Avery.
Virginia Tech women's basketball is finishing their 2025-26 season on a positive note. Virginia Tech split their final home games, narrowly losing an overtime thriller to number 22 North Carolina, but then rebounding back with a 62-51 victory over Georgia Tech in their home finale. This win over the Yellow Jackets highlighted VT's core strengths they've shown all season: tough defense and clutch performances in late games. The Hokies have one regular season game remaining, heading to Charlottesville to face Virginia in the second encounter of the Commonwealth Clash. Under second-year head coach Megan Duffy, she has begun to leave her mark on Virginia Tech, blending experienced leaders with emerging talent, making this team competitive and a threat in the ACC. Currently, the Hokies are well positioned to make March Madness with good prospects for a high seed in the ACC tournament and a spot in the Big Dance. ESPN Bracketology projects VT as a number 9 seed and is classified among the last 4 byes, meaning they would get to skip a crucial play-in game. Overall, consistent progress, strong defense, and postseason ambitions characterize Virginia Tech women's basketball at this stage in time.
Thanks, Michael. Now, let's talk about UVA. They had a great upset win against Louisville, but then had a heartbreaker on senior night against UNC.
Yeah, this is a scrappy Virginia team, right? They already came to town to take on Virginia Tech earlier this season, and they're going to want revenge, as historically the Cavaliers have controlled that series against Virginia Tech women's basketball, but with the likes of Kamora Johnson and some other strong players for the Cavaliers, they might want to get that second Commonwealth Clash matchup going their direction.
Yeah, and it's going to be a home court advantage for the Cavaliers, so it's going to be huge for them as they're looking to keep those tournament hopes alive.
Yeah, it's been a great season for Virginia Tech women's basketball. While 19 of the 21 wins for them have been double-digit victories, Virginia Tech baseball has had Hokies fans on the edge of their seats in the 9th inning or beyond. Our own Landon Weaver is here to take you through the roller coaster that was last weekend's series against Rutgers.
Virginia Tech baseball has achieved its best 8-game start since 2022. But just as quickly as it happened, that record could look totally different if the Hokies didn't live up to their nickname. So let's rewind to last Friday and take a look at how the Hammerin' Hokies got to 7-1 on the season. It's the first game of the series against Rutgers. Hokies are down 8-1 heading into the 8th inning and seemingly on their way to their first loss of the season. 8-1. Not great, but not horrible. A game you can chalk up as just not your day. But then the Scarlet Knights ended up taking game 1 16-1. Rutgers put up 8 runs in the 8th inning, making it 15 unanswered and run-ruling the Hokies. So, at this point, many fans were throwing hope away for the entire series, and that same sentiment followed Tech to the bottom of the 9th in Game 2, trailing 5-4 and down to their last out. Then Anderson French drew a walk that allowed the Hokies to tie the game going into extras. But wouldn't you know, Rutgers gave themselves a 3-run advantage going into the bottom 10th and again it seemed that fate was on the Scarlet Knights' side. Then, madness ensued, and the Hammerin' Hokies proved to the entire nation why they've earned that moniker as of recent. After a leadoff ground out from Trayson Hughes, the Blacksburg faithful that stuck around for extras saw something so unordinary, so rare, that it'll be stories that seem like myths when told years down the line. Hudson Luderman stepped up, first pitch, bang, home run to left field. Sam Grube came up next, second pitch, boom, homer to right center. Back-to-back home runs, and the Hokies were only down 1 run. The tying run would then get on base via a walk, which gave freshman Ethan Ball a chance to be the hero, and boy, did he take advantage of the moment. In a full count, mind you, Ethan Ball mustered all of the strength he could find and walked it off. A home run of his own, 4 batters, 3 home runs, and the most unlikely walk-off you'll ever see. The Hokies would go on to take a controlled 4-3 win in the rubber match, winning the series 2-1. What could just have as easily been a cool, calm, collected Rutgers win has turned into a momentum-swinging moment for this Hokies squad.
Great stuff, Landon and Hayden. They got that series win against Rutgers, but then this week against JMU, another nail-biter that they just were able to get the win in.
Yeah, these are the type of games that is going to prepare this team for conference play late in the season. And, you know, we have this series coming up that Richard's going to talk about earlier. It's going to be huge for them when it comes to playing in Texas.
Yeah, Ethan Gibson with a great defensive play to get Virginia Tech that victory. And Virginia Tech can't really relish in those victories for long because it's already up to the next task. A trip down to Lone Star State to take on some top competition. Richard Terry has more on what to look for in the M&G Bank College Series this weekend.
Virginia Tech baseball has met expectations through their first few series. They swept William & Mary and knocked a blow to Rutgers with a rubber match win. Most recently, they marked their first away game with a win against JMU. But these wins are all just warm-ups for the Goliaths ahead. Tech baseball will play in their first road series, the M&G Bank College Baseball Series. This weekend, it's all about opportunity for learning and resume, as they face 3 ranked SEC schools, including number 4 Mississippi State at Globe Life Field, arguably the best baseball stadium in the world. Now, back to that word, resume. The 6 teams involved will all have the ability to control their destiny come conference play. But college baseball comes with huge variation for their tournament play. Regionals. Just like women's basketball, college baseball presents the chance to host in the biggest games of the year. How do you set yourself up for a regional? You can win the regular season ACC championship like Virginia Tech did in 2022. Or to make things a little bit easier, you could take games in a series like this, proving you can compete at an elite level. There are 6 historic programs playing in this series. The home of Barry Bonds in Arizona State, 2021 World Series champs in Mississippi State, 2024 College World Series champs in Tennessee. How about Tennessee's runner-up in that 2024 World Series in Texas A&M? And then, of course, the current number 1 team in the nation and 2013 national champions, UCLA. Finally, 2022 Super Regional host, Virginia Tech. On March 1st, the biggest game in the series takes place between number 4 and number 1, Mississippi State versus UCLA. Time to show who truly is number 1 in the nation. All these teams play for something much more than wins, and they do it in the home of the Texas Rangers, the 2023 World Series champions. For some, it's simply telling people they are back. For more. For others, presenting their prowess possibly for the first time in a long time on a national level.
Thanks, Richard. Well, Hayden, we've talked plenty of baseball today, but let's give some love to Virginia Tech softball, who's been on the road, so the fans at home haven't seen them in person per se, but they have been showing out in non-conference play so far.
Yeah, Hokie fans has seen unlikely kind of outcomes from this softball team when they lost to Michigan State and Charlotte, of course, but they were able to pick that up and get a sweeping series win against Georgia.
That was huge. Georgia was ranked number 12 in the country at the time of those victories, and they're not quite home yet as they continue playing in more tournaments, invitationals, all of those. They'll get closer to Salem next week. That's a little bit closer to Blacksburg, Virginia, but no doubt Virginia Tech softball fans will be excited to see what the team has to offer when they return to Tech Softball Park for conference play, which is coming up sooner than we know it.
Yeah, winter's coming to a close. The flowers are sprouting. We have baseball and softball season coming up. But for our very own reporters, Landon Weaver, Richard Terry, and Michael Avery, for my partner, Riley Klaus, I'm Haden Tolbert for the 3304 Sports Tip-Off Show.